On. Welcome back to Two Marks and a Spark. We're recording this show really late. It is Monday as we record this. Some different things came up, so we could not do the show Saturday or Sunday, but we are back here on a Monday doing the show. And oh boy,
Yeah, interesting show, was it not?
what in the hell?
A lot to talk about.
So I want to get the elephant in the room out of the way. Russ, we need to eat some crow
Sure,
because uh
I'm used to it.
we both said on this show, I believe multiple times, that this would never happen.
Right. When I began to be convinced that he was coming back, I thought they would wait until Royal Rumble,
Can
which
I
to
be
me
honest?
would make better sense for a big surprise like that. But maybe they'll save Jade for Cargill for Royal Rumble.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
I did not watch this show live
Yeah.
because
I watched the replay.
I knew Saturday, what was it that we talked? Thursday, that we knew we weren't going to do this show right after the show. So I knew I wasn't going to watch it. I wasn't going to be able to watch it live anyway.
Right.
And no, I didn't bother to watch Collision. Though I guess I heard it was actually kind of a decent show, even though they went 3 hours.
It
Uh,
was it was all right. I did watch that, and then I actually went through Collision, and believe it or not, and after that, then I watched the replay of the Royal Rumble, which they edited it down some. They didn't have the video packages of the backstory; those were edited out, but it still came in at 2 3/4 hours.
did you watch this year's Royal Rumble again?
Yeah,
Huh.
I mean, I'm talking about the Survivor Series,
Oh yeah, the video packages were edited out of the replay, which I thought was strange. Uh,
which I like. That's great.
I like the video packages, so I wasn't too happy about that. But what
Okay.
I what I was happy about overall, I'd have to say, was Survivor Series. I think this show underpromised and overdelivered,
Yep.
which Triple H has made a pattern of doing. He underpromises and then he overdelivers. That's what he was doing in NXT. That's kind of what he's done on the main roster
Right.
to a greater extent. Uh, Elephant in the room, of course, and we're going to talk more about it here at the very end of the show. CM Punk, who pretty much single-handedly gives us something to talk about every week,
Right. Exactly.
is all WWE. He's no longer all
Your
elite.
immediate reaction when you saw his music come up at the end of the show.
I said, "Oh my God, they're insane.
Yep.
Seth
I
is
thought
going to kill
I
him."
thought here we go again. It's going to be another round of the same old bullshit.
I thought for a split second, what are the chances Seth runs down the ramp and jumps him?
Yeah.
Like, what are the chances that Seth didn't know about this and just runs up the ramp,
Right.
just breaks out of the cage and runs for it?
Well, I know they not everybody. I don't think everybody knew that Punk was.
Everybody in the main event knew.
Yeah, I think they knew, but a lot of the other people didn't know.
Well, let's go through this show and then I'll talk about the Punk stuff because I got a
Yeah,
lot to talk about.
let's start off with the first match.
That women's War Games match: Bianca, Becky, Charlotte, and Shotzi against Bayley, Asuka against Damage Control, pretty much. This match, if not for the men's War Games match, would have been the best match on the show.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, but I thought some of the spots were just a little too far fetched, and there was too much use of weapons. But then again, you know, if the idea is to have maintain the advantage over the other team as far as the amount of time where you have, then why would you, before running in, why would you spend all that time digging around under the ring for all
Because
this
the clock doesn't
crap?
start until they get in the ring.
Well, just, yeah, I don't know. I
But
suppose that the crowd loved it. I thought it was a little too gimmicky,
well, I
but we
thought this
did see
match.
some real good moves, and I like Damage Control. and Bailey's still one of the best.
I thought Kairi Sane had borderline a star-making performance. I mean, she was already a star, but I thought Kairi Sane was fantastic. Just did everything right in this match. And I thought Shotzi Blackheart had a shockingly good night at the office. For as much as her stock has plummeted in the last 2 years, I thought she was really good in this match.
Sure. I mean, I don't like her gimmick at all. And I don't
No,
like her new look, but man, she could really go. She's an excellent wrestler.
and of course the baby faces won, which was the theme of the night. That the War
Seemed to
Games
be
matches.
for the War Games matches, yes.
Uh,
But it seemed to be not too long, not too short, just about right.
they went about 30 minutes, which is about typical for a War Games match. I mean, you're not going to get anything less than that just because of the intervals of everybody getting in there.
Right.
Um, then we go on to Gunther and The Miz.
Yeah, liked it. I liked this a lot.
A lot of people thought this match was kind of meh. I actually thought it was one of the better matches I've seen from The Miz in years.
Yes, yes. And people forget because he's such a goofball that the Miz is a very capable wrestler. And he's one of the ones that earned my respect in the ring. He didn't come from a wrestling background. He earned my respect by his performance in the ring. And I thought this was a good match. Did not expect him to win, but he gave Gunther a run for his money.
He did, and
Gunther was exhausted and covered in sweat and panting by the end of the match.
and Gunther does retain somewhat predictably. Um, we'll
Yeah.
talk about Gunther when we get to the end of the show here because I think his whole trajectory just changed a little bit. We had Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee. This was, I guess, supposed to be a totally different match, and things
Right.
changed, and this ended
It
up
was
being what it
changed
was.
at the last minute because of it was originally supposed to be Carlito.
Correct. It was supposed to be Carlito. Carlito got hurt. Uh, but Dragon Lee stepped in, did a hell of a job, takes the pin in about 8 minutes from
This
Santos.
match went exactly as I predicted.
It's kind of
You
how it
know,
had to go.
Santos is the heel that's got the push right now.
Now, my only complaint with this show is coming up. Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark have this fantastic match that was clearly cut short. They
It
were
just
only
felt
in
like
the,
it was cut short.
they were only in there for 9 minutes, and
Yeah.
give these two another 10 minutes and they probably have a match of the year candidate
Yeah.
because
Just as it was starting to get going, it felt like it came over too soon.
these
Whereas
two
normally these matches go on too long. They don't finish when you feel like the natural time to finish it. This was just the opposite.
um this was a very good match and Rhea retains almost as you would expect, but
But
especially at this
Zoe
point.
Zoe did not look bad in this loss. She lost, but it didn't really hurt her stock, I don't think.
No, she's on the way up.
Definitely.
I don't think she'll be the one to beat Rhea, but I wouldn't be stunned if she is in the end.
But she looks like a serious badass woman.
Yeah.
No, she does. She looked like she'd be able to kick my ass for sure.
I mean, she gave Rhea a real run for her money. And the crowd was very into this.
Yes.
And then we get to the
Good
men's
crowd response.
and then we get to this men's war games match that I thought was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it was good. This was the best match of the night. I did not expect it to be, but it certainly was.
And this just goes to show you yet again that everybody in the Judgment Day can work, and that's not a question anymore.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody kind of questioned Dominic at first. I would stop now because you're just wrong at this point.
Right. Exactly.
These 10 guys. Okay, let's kind of go through this in some semblance of an order here. We kind of didn't with the women's match, but we're going to do it with the men's because it's important here. So Seth and Finn start this thing. And by the end of this, Seth looked dead. I mean, And why they had Seth start this thing with Mr. Money in the Bank also in the match, I fail to understand.
Right. But he was.
Logically, that just
I
didn't make any
expected him to
sense.
come in last because supposedly he's been working hurt so long.
Well,
Maybe he hasn't got any sense.
that is very likely. And this match starts. Seth jumps Finn Balor before the bell even goes. And we're off to the races.
Brutal.
And here comes JD, and him and Balor beat the hell out of Seth. Seth looks dead for pretty much the rest of the match. He doesn't do much for the rest of the match, but he didn't have to. Jay comes down. Jay probably got one of the bigger pops of the night. Not the
Yep.
biggest, obviously. We'll get to what the biggest was, but the biggest, one of the five biggest pops of the night, I think, went to Jay.
Sure.
He is very over, and rightfully so. Uh, Priest comes down after cutting McIntyre off. And really the Judgment Day was in control for, I want to say, most of this match. It gets to 5-on-4, and Randy is late. Randy is
Right.
MIA. And at one point,
They were teasing that he wasn't going to show at all.
Seth looks at Cody and he's like, dude,
Right.
we're fucked.
But he got a big pop when he finally came in.
No, but what I thought was really good about this whole thing is Seth really played this up like, dude, if Randy
Right.
doesn't show, we're screwed.
Yeah.
We can't win. Like if
They
we
acted like they really definitely believed it.
no, but even Cody was like, dude, I don't know. What? Why are you asking me? And Seth's like, because it
Exactly.
was your idea. And the crowd's chanting CM Punk. And, Solomonster made a point on his show of like, why would they not have Randy come out right away when they knew they were in Chicago and they were chanting Punk? But
Right.
but the whole thing was they had Punk in their back pocket anyway, so it kind of didn't matter.
Right. Well, you had dueling chants throughout the night too.
Yeah. I mean,
That's what
there would
part
be
of it.
chants of CM Punk and then they'd boo it down.
That's always the problem with the Chicago crowd. They always want to talk about CM Punk, whether he's relevant to the situation or not.
Well, that's always kind of been the issue WWE's encountered. AEW hasn't really encountered that. They might if Punk leaves WWE again. But by the end, Randy Orton, by the way, by the time he comes down to this point in the night, got the biggest pop of the show.
Yeah.
Uh, and Randy is looking better than he did when he got hurt somehow.
He's looking good, and he starts right away just knocking them right and left with them short clotheslines and everything. And he looks like he hasn't lost a step at all.
Randy was just all sorts of fired up. He looked happy to be back.
Yeah.
And one thing that really, and I'll talk about this more in a minute, but after the match, there was fan video of Randy basically. He walked around the entire ringside area pretty much
Yeah.
and shook just about everybody's hand.
Yeah, he must be happy to be back.
Randy Orton's a total class act anyway.
It looked to me like they were teasing him turning on Jay, but that was just a little momentary distraction, because of their past.
Right.
That's been a long time ago. Didn't they feud a couple years ago?
No, Randy's last match was against the Usos with
Okay. And he lost.
notable piece of shit Matt Riddle.
Right. Oh, yes. Hey, by the way, yeah, Matt Riddle I read a quote from him.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he had a response to the Punk.
What did he say?
He says, man, if you think I'm hard to manage, he's got a good point. They got rid of Matt Riddle because they couldn't control what came out of his mouth, and then they hire CM Punk. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, here's the difference. Riddle wasn't a draw. Punk will be.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the difference.
They're going to make millions of dollars off of this.
If they haven't already, and I think they will. T-shirt sales tonight I will be astronomical.
Oh yeah.
My mom, who doesn't give
All they got to do now is maybe finally bring back get them the ice cream bar, the CM Punk ice cream bar that he
my
always
mom,
wants.
who does not give a singular shit about pro wrestling,
Yeah,
was like, CM Punk's back, and I was like,
yeah.
yep.
Pepsi Phil.
Pepsi Phil. Well, anyway, uh, the baby faces win here. Cody, Randy, Sammy, Jay, and Seth.
Good night for the faces. Very
And
good.
that RKO Randy hit on JD McDonough, where they tossed him off the top of
Oh
the
yeah.
cage.
See, it
It was
Finn
Seth and
and
Sammy
Seth
and
up
Sammy
on
that,
top
and
and
they
threw
just chuck him
JD
off the
McDonough
cage. And
off the cage, and then he hits that RKO. And that happened so fast you couldn't even really see it that good on the replay. But his timing was just perfect on it.
and the crowd went nuclear. I
Yeah.
mean, they had forgot the crowd pretty much didn't care about CM Punk by the end of this match.
It's just like I don't know what they're paying him, but JD McDonald. It's like
McDonough.
we're gonna throw you off with it. This is 15 feet high off the ring, and we're gonna throw you, and you're gonna land flat on your back.
Flat on your face.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna land
No
face
thanks.
first on Randy Orton's shoulder.
Right,
Anyway,
face first.
so they do the celebration thing. This show looks like it's over. I
Right,
mean,
and it
I'm
was
the
very brief.
even I'm watching this show and I'm thinking, show's over? This show was less than 3 hours, even with the thing that comes here in a second. But I'm thinking, this show wasn't 3 hours and it's over.
Right. I was
What's
expecting a 4 hour show, but I'm not complaining.
well, it's Triple H booking. I mean, you're not going to get
Yeah,
a 4 hour show ever.
that's good.
But this show, they even do the copyright thing. Michael Cole does his sign off thing. And then you hear the static and you
Right.
immediately know, oh, fuck.
Yeah, but here we go again.
Well,
And
here comes,
it took me by surprise. I thought the earliest we would possibly see hip surface would be a Royal Rumble.
if at all.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, Vince McMahon definitely had nothing to do with this decision.
oh, yeah, nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
He wasn't even consulted on the idea.
Nope.
But CM Punk comes out. He doesn't do anything, by the
Nope.
way.
He didn't do anything.
He got hugs from fans. And this show goes off the air with him sitting on the ramp. I now want to shift focus a little bit. Shout out to Fightful Select for everything I'm about to say here, because
Yeah.
so Mike Johnson of PW Insider did some good work here too. But Mike Johnson reported after the show that this is a 3-year deal. And supposedly he's going to be working something close to the Edge deal, where he's going to be on TV a lot. Remember when Edge came back, he was on TV
Right.
a lot, but he wasn't.
It wasn't doing house shows.
He wasn't. People are like, well, Edge was full time. No, he wasn't.
Right.
People forget Edge was not full time. Because if you remember when he first came back, other than injuries, it kind of felt like he was on a full time deal. No, he wasn't.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know towards the end there he wasn't on TV much, but like for those first 2 years, Edge was on TV all the time.
Sure.
Now, here's what happened in the lead up. This coming from Fightful Select.
All right.
A few minutes before the main event ended and Punk came out, they cleared out the backstage area.
They did. Okay.
They because there were people, around the monitors watching the show, whatever. They said, everybody out. and Triple H and Bruce Pritchard and some other people from production were back there. Now, it's not unusual at the end of a show like that for them to clear out the backstage area.
Sure.
If they need to change something, if something went wrong, if there's an injury.
But they were working the locker room. They didn't want anybody but the guys in the ring to know what was going on.
Now, in the lead up to this, Drew McIntyre had been pissed off all night. Like for a shoot, he was upset.
You know why?
I have some idea. We'll get to that in a minute because Drew's a totally separate story. But
Sure.
basically, what happens is they clear out the backstage area, but Punk can be seen in plain sight. Like they're not hiding Punk at this point, but they're cleaning out backstage. And Triple H just basically told everybody, I've got to change something at the end of the show here, blah, 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 blah. They are doing their normal end of show stuff because people in the truck didn't know. Like Kevin Dunn and people in the truck, they didn't know. Triple
No
H didn't
idea.
tell them.
Yeah.
Triple H told Nick Khan, and that was it. Like, Nick Khan knew and Triple H knew. The people from
And you know, in this day and age, it's not that easy to keep a secret, you know, because there's so many leaks.
Right. But here's what happened basically. And Triple H said this in the press conference and Dave Meltzer confirmed it. The people from Endeavor didn't even know. Like Ari Emanuel didn't know about this. They didn't tell anybody.
Wow.
So they're getting ready to go off the air, and then Triple H calls for Punk's music. And you remember that slight hesitation when Cole stopped talking? I think he thought they were off the air.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Cole knew.
No, from what I read, the announcers did not know either.
Cole didn't know. Corey didn't know. And that's probably why they didn't say anything, because they're just as confused as we are.
Right.
Because you notice the announcers just stopped talking.
Yeah.
After they did the sign off. Because Cole and Corey, they said goodnight. They're done. Yeah. And what happens basically is the music gets hit, and you can kind of see it when they do that. Remember that wide shot they did where you could kind of see the announcers off to the side there? So what happens is this music hits, and you can see, and somebody did a zoom in on it, there's a very small speck where you can see Michael Cole violently throw something when the music hits.
Oh, really?
Cole was pissed.
Yeah, it's an honest reaction.
Which is probably another reason they cut his mic.
I tell you what, he's not going to be the only one, I'm sure.
Well, we'll get to backstage reactions and stuff in a minute.
I would love to get Booker T's take on it because I've enjoyed Booker T's interviews about CM Punk in the past. Was not a big fan. Yeah.
So I'm sure you saw the fan video after the show went off the air with Punk up the ramp and Seth having to be held back by Corey and Michael. That was a work.
I'm pretty sure it was. And it makes sense too, because it was only just not that many months ago when Seth Rollins publicly referred to CM Punk as a locker room cancer. Locker room cancer. Damn.
That's harsh words, but not unsurprising.
Yeah.
Basically, what had happened was the talent in the main event knew. So here's what happened with Drew McIntyre. I want to get into this a little bit. We don't know exactly why Drew was pissed. But everybody that was in the main event, so the Judgment Day and the other and the baby faces, Drew,
Right.
Seth, everybody was in a meeting, closed doors, nobody knew what was going on. Which isn't unusual, by the way, for Triple H to have a closed door meeting with people in the main event. Vince would do that all the time,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they were going to do some angle or they didn't want the finish getting out, whatever. It's not unusual for Triple H to go in the back and pull these guys aside.
Yeah.
Basically, what he says is CM Punk is coming back, blah, 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 blah. And Drew storms out of this meeting. This meeting ends, Drew storms out, and Drew is pissed for the rest of the night.
Yeah. And reportedly, he left immediately after the match. Didn't stick
Correct.
around.
He did not stick around. Drew stormed out of the building, basically. I don't know. I would assume he's going to be at Raw tonight because he lives in Nashville.
Right.
Whether he'll be on TV or not, that I don't know. Now, Drew
No
McIntyre
kidding.
did have time added to his contract um, through April. So he's
Right.
there through basically WrestleMania and maybe a little
Right.
bit beyond that.
But don't be surprised if he leaves after that.
I don't think he's going to leave. I'll
Think
get to
they'll
that
work
in a
something
minute.
out.
I'll get to that in a minute. But
I mean, unless he wants to retire, but
basically, what had happened is that there were people in WWE who thought CM Punk was a part of the MJF angle with the devil.
yeah, okay, yeah. I never seriously thought that at all.
I don't think anybody necessarily seriously thought it, but the idea was there were people who thought potentially.
Right.
Um, and here's the thing. Um, the reaction backstage has not been entirely negative.
Oh yeah, I imagine some people might be surprised or excited because of more ratings and stuff.
Uh,
Better ratings.
I I don't know if here's what I don't know. And I know I'm going on and on here, but here's what I don't know. And here's what I'd be interested for your thoughts on. And this is kind of just an opinion. Do you think Triple H and CM Punk have buried the hatchet? Or do you think this is more a case of let's go make a shit ton of money?
I don't know. I like to think that I think before they could have made a deal, they would have had to have some sort of handshake and reconciliation and determination that, let's not actively hate each other's guts anymore. We got to work together. There has to be at least some level of reconciliation to make this possible, I
I mean,
think.
I mean, Triple H said in the press conference, though, it's been 10 years.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, I thought if there was anybody who would never, ever, ever come back to the WWF, I would have bet it would have been in Bret Hart. And look what happened.
Now, people were curious about Tony Khan and his reaction. Um,
I would be interested too.
he didn't care,
Yeah,
is the general summation. They
right.
lost Katsuyori Shibata, which was more of his concern.
They lost Shibata.
They've lost Shibata
Where's he going? New
back to
Japan?
Japan.
Okay. That makes
Um,
sense, actually.
but that was more Tony's concern Saturday, and he legally Tony can't comment on the Punk situation. I guess, like he can't comment on him going back to WWE or anything. Um, so let's talk about kind of the lead up to this. So Triple H talked a little bit about this in the press conference, and I thought this was interesting. Triple H is always really good on these pressers. Um, he said that by the time this deal became realistic, everybody thought it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So when we were sitting here talking about will he, won't he, the reality was at that time he wouldn't.
Right.
So what is the, and somebody tried to ask him what changed. Now here's what I think happened, and some of the reporting would back this up. TNA made a very serious offer for him. Like, if WWE doesn't make an offer, TNA is getting him offer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was gonna go to TNA. Like, that was a very real thing. CM Punk was very close, according to everything I've read and everything I've heard. CM
That
Punk was very close to going to TNA.
that would have put TNA back on the map for at least a while.
And there was even some people in the company who thought they had him, but understood also that there was a very real chance he goes back to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
basically, this came down to TNA or WWE. And everybody who said, oh, TNA has no chance,
Well,
apparently they did. And
hey, even if they don't pay as much money, look at the fact that you wouldn't have to work as much either. Not as heavy a schedule.
also look at the fact that Scott D'Amore is there, and Scott D'Amore is very good at people management. And that's kind of what CM Punk needs, is somebody who's good at people management. And that's what Scott D'Amore's specialty is.
Somebody that can keep him satisfied enough to kind of keep him in line.
Which I think Scott D'Amore would have been able to do.
Yeah.
Can Triple H do that? We'll find out. Can the doofus son-in-law do it? We'll
Well,
find
I
out.
think he's better equipped to do it now than he would have been 10 years ago because he's just a better businessman. He's more experienced. He's more mature.
I don't understand. What I don't understand about the Punk thing is if he was that close to going to TNA. I understand TNA probably could not have matched the WWE offer
Right.
money wise.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was really considering going to TNA, and all the reporting I've read says that's actually kind of where he wanted to go.
Yeah.
By the way, I still think at some point CM Punk does end up going to TNA. I think where there's smoke, there's fire there.
That'd be interesting.
Would you be surprised if either this WWE thing doesn't work out, which I don't think either of us expect this to work. This isn't going to work for 3 years. It's not.
3 years is a long time. How much money? You have any idea?
I've heard anywhere from 10 to 15 million.
10 to 15 million.
That's what I've
Well,
heard.
I don't know about you. I could live on that.
Um they I guess the idea was in bringing Punk back, WWE does not need CM Punk. Let's get that out of the way. They
Right.
certainly don't need him more than AEW did when AEW went out and got him.
Correct.
AEW needed CM Punk when they got him, and to some level, even when they fired him, you could have made an argument that they still needed CM Punk.
Right. But I understand why he had to be fired. I think Tony Khan did the right thing under the circumstances.
Well, he absolutely did. But
Now I know that like some of these old school fans, like Jim Cornette, think, "Oh, he was right to start slapping people around. There was nothing wrong with that. That's the way the wrestling business is. People beat each other. Well, maybe people used to beat each other up all the time, but if they're not allowed to do that anymore, that's fine with me. I don't really give a shit about this old school rules in the locker room.
yeah, it's from a bygone era. I mean, really.
Well,
But
and it's in everything. I mean, in any endeavor in life, in any kind of business, you can't go around. You cannot go around assaulting people. You can't do that anymore. It's just some people are having a hard time adjusting to that.
now, apparently, Punk's negotiations were very closed door, as in it was Triple H,
Oh
Nick
yeah.
Khan, and CM Punk, and that was it.
Oh yeah. I can believe.
Now, how much of this was Nick Khan and how much of this was Triple H? Do I think Triple H wanted CM Punk? Not at first, no.
Hmm.
Because apparently this all happened in the last 10 days, according to Mike Johnson. This all
Okay.
happened in the last week,
Very fast.
and there was no contract as of Saturday morning.
Really interesting.
So that basically means they made the decision day of. Like, do we or don't we? There had
They
been
decided to take the gamble.
there had been consideration of holding him to the Royal Rumble and saying we're going to wait until the Rumble and that's when we're going to do this. But I guess what happened was they didn't want it leaking. They didn't want it getting out. They wanted it to be a
Right.
big surprise.
Hmm.
They wanted nobody to know.
Well, as you know from people, that there was already rumors in the locker room about him inevitably coming in.
Well, that was all locker room talk, though, and you know how
Yeah.
locker room talk is. It
But maybe somebody actually knew something, or they could have been just bullshit. You're right.
I think there is a very real possibility that what they decided to do, and maybe this was Punk's idea. The idea, I think, was for him to be at Survivor Series. Whether he was going to be on TV or not, they wanted him in the building
Right.
because they were in Chicago. It made sense.
Yeah.
Do I think CM Punk wanted to go back to WWE when he left AEW? No, I don't, because I still think by that point he was pretty pissed. I think what happened in the last week or so, and this is all speculation, I'm not reporting this. What I think happened is CM Punk woke up one morning and decided, fuck it. What's the worst thing that can happen? I've already gotten fired. I'm not getting paid
Right.
by Tony. And maybe this is just him getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And who could blame him?
Right. The hell of a paycheck too.
For the supposed amount, which is not confirmed, that's just a number that's been floated around. That's not a report. That's just a number that's
How
been
old is
floated.
Punk? Is he 40 in his 40s?
Yeah. He had a weird haircut too. I don't know if you saw that.
He was kind of dead.
He's 45.
Okay. Well, he's probably got a couple years in him left. Apparently three, he's thinking.
Um, Here's my thinking. Is he back? And part of me, and again, total speculation here. How much of this was AJ Lee getting in his ear and just saying, dude, look at the paycheck here.
What's the money?
Those two have been married for almost 10 years. You think there wasn't some conversation of,
Oh, sure.
you know, a new house would be nice,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
How much of this was, I'd like a new house, you know?
Yeah. Could be. It's hard to tell. I just think that just kind of took me by surprise, and I'm not overly optimistic, but I tend to think negatively about the guy. I don't think it'll go wrong, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope he has a great run and everybody gets along great.
Now, him and Seth are going to be working together, potentially at WrestleMania, potentially at the Rumble.
Yeah. Could be a very good match too.
What do you think the idea behind Triple H? What do you think the idea behind them doing a press conference and not having Punk there was?
I don't know.
Don't give Punk a hot mic right now.
Yeah, especially at a press conference. We don't want a repeat of that media scrum.
Oh
Although,
God.
although if something like that happened, I don't think Triple H should just sit there and keep his mouth shut the way Tony Khan did.
No, he
I
won't.
think Triple H should say, "Cut his mic. This conference is over."
Uh, I don't know. There's talk they could put the world title on him,
I know. That doesn't shock me one bit.
but here's the thing: if he's the world heavyweight champion, you got to have him do media.
Oh, I know.
And
I know.
how much of that is going to be an issue?
Mm-hmm.
And how much of it in the back of Triple H's head is he thinking, fuck?
Yeah. Hey, we'll see.
Let's
I
talk
would
about
imagine he probably is not going to be able to talk trash about AEW because
legally.
they had some kind of non-disclosure agreement in the payoff. Then he wouldn't be able to.
Well, it
I
was
know
in the
he has not
termination.
been running his mouth about AEW. He hasn't really said anything about it.
Well, legally he can't.
Yeah.
Now CM Punk, do I want this to go well? Yes.
Me
It is
too.
good for the wrestling business for this thing to work.
Yeah.
We sit here and we talk negative about it.
Right.
But what people, I think, forget sometimes is it's good for us for CM Punk to be on TV.
Right. And what's good for the business is never going to match my preferences 100% of the time. I got no problem with that.
And you're still going to watch every week. Even if you weren't doing this show, you'd be watching the
Right.
show every
But
week. And
I'm the
so
kind
would
of guy
I.
too, if I'm in a crowd and CM Punk appears, I've got no trouble being the only guy in the crowd booing him.
I don't
That
think you
doesn't
would
bother
be.
me in the least.
I don't think you would be.
And I don't think he gives a shit either way anyway.
So,
He shouldn't.
some less verifiable things this week, just some stuff I've heard
Okay.
that I can't verify, and it's all basically speculation. Do not take this as reporting because it's not, because I haven't confirmed it. Minneapolis right now is the WrestleMania 41,
We're talking about 2024.
25, 2025.
Yeah, 25. Damn. Hey, if
So
I'm still alive by then, I wouldn't mind going. That's why I'm only 4 hours away.
I will be going if that is the case. But right now, as of everything I've heard, mostly from the Minnesota side, I haven't heard anything from the WWE side, but from the Minnesota, like that camp, from like the state camp and the city camp,
Yeah.
they think they've got it.
Oh, good.
Or from everything I've heard, it's done. that, and the idea was to do this when US Bank Stadium opened, but that didn't happen for a litany of reasons. uh WWE got cold feet, Vince got cold feet, the leaks happened. And
Yeah.
what you got to know about that camp that has kind of been handling this and the events camp for US Bank Stadium, that thing leaks like a leaky faucet. Like it leaks like crazy.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like WWE cares a little less about their WrestleMania spots leaking now than they used to. Because remember, a few years ago, they were really insistent that nobody leak these
Yeah.
locations.
Do you have any idea what WrestleMania tickets cost? What the range is?
It depends on the venue. I know when they used to do arenas, they used to be pretty expensive, but I think since they started doing stadiums, it's gone down.
I might have to start saving up for it already.
The idea is, and I guess the rumor is, they're going to be announcing this at the Rumble. The next, because they usually announce the next WrestleMania after the one upcoming at the Rumble. That's
Right.
where it's going to be.
That's right.
Now, I think it would be a missed marketing opportunity for them not to, in some way, partner with Prince's estate and somehow get his music, get Purple Rain.
There you go.
I don't know how they're going to do it. But WWE is not afraid to shell out for licenses.
Sure.
And if they
Well,
can,
also if they get Purple Rain, then they could bring back the artist formerly known as Prince Iukea. You remember Vince Russo's WCW Nitro?
yes,
That was one of his. Prince Iukea became the artist formerly known as Prince Iukea.
but I think again, it'd be a missed marketing opportunity not to do that.
Yeah.
Only because that's going to draw eyes almost as much as the logo will.
Yes.
And they're going to sell it out. Like everybody who's saying, oh, they couldn't sell out Minneapolis, weird location.
WrestleMania is going to sell out wherever they go.
They could do that thing in frickin' Iceland and it would probably sell out.
Yep.
It's a thing of WrestleMania is a draw. And it's not
Right.
even so much the wrestling portion. It's the event. It's the spectacle of a WrestleMania.
Well, now they have a whole week of events leading up to it. It's getting to be worse than the damn Super Bowl, you know?
It is the Super Bowl.
It's the Super Bowl of pro wrestling for sure.
I mean, really, nothing AEW does, even All Out, or excuse me, All In, for as big of a show as that was, for as many people as they drew,
Right.
that's still not on the level of a WrestleMania.
No, it's not going to have the impact or the influence. No way.
Right. And everybody talks about, well, WWE, da 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 da. An idea I want to throw to you, because I think they could do this, especially now with Triple H in charge. As a soccer fan, the biggest event happens every 4 years, and that's the World Cup. WWE, if they want to do an international WrestleMania, would be missing a boatload of money not to do a World Cup type thing.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Like, if they're going to do a WrestleMania in a London, you're missing the boat if you don't do a World Cup type deal.
We would like to get those people to buy tickets or buy pay-per-views. You're talking about a large population here.
I mean, whether you love it or you hate it, soccer is the most popular sport in the world.
Yes.
Especially over there. And they're talking
Going everywhere else on the planet is football, except here.
Right. Now, it's the most popular sport in the world everywhere else.
Right.
Here,
Yeah,
the NFL, da 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 da.
right. NFL. And well, hey, uh, I had one other thing I wanted to bring up to discuss briefly too.
Let's go
Not
for it.
directly, it's not related to the Survivor Series. However, you're not up to date on AEW. However, you're aware of this Continental Classic tournament. This
I've
is a round
I've
robin tournament. And
correct.
actually, this looks very interesting. So far, the matches have been good.
Yes, they have.
And I really like the idea of a round robin tournament because we're going to get two groups with like 30 matches each leading up to what is it, December 30th?
Correct.
We're gonna
At
have to
World's
do
End, when
we're
they're
gonna
gonna
have to do a
do
show around then sometime, won't we?
another pay-per-view at World's End. Can we talk about MJF for a minute?
Yes.
So, some news came out in the last week or so here that I guess MJF is probably already re-signed, which
That would
no
make
surprise
sense.
there.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think they'd be building their entire show around a guy who was about to leave.
right.
Um, of all the guys they've built him the best. I don't think Tony was going to let him go,
No.
especially in
Anything they
losing,
want, keep him around.
especially losing Shibata, losing Punk. Yes, you get Osprey, but Osprey's not the size of star that MJF is.
And he still won't become an in till next year, so it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, February. So we'll see. We will see what happens.
I just think this there's a lot of potential good matches coming up here in this round robin tournament. I
It's a
like the
shame
fact that
Osprey's not in it.
yeah,
Like that's my main takeaway here is there's no Osprey, there's no Kenny Omega. Now Danielson is in,
mhm. Yes, definitely.
but he won't wrestle till the final.
They've also got some guys that are questionable, like Daniel Garcia.
Who's great in the ring.
He's great, but a lot of people didn't think he was quite the caliber to be up there. But we got Brody King in there in the tournament.
But AEW's got to put some of their homegrown guys in this thing.
They
You're
got to.
missing the boat if you don't put some of your homegrowns in there.
Yes.
So I don't know, man. If I won't be surprised if Danielson wins the Continental Classic, just because it was probably his idea
Mm-hmm.
to do it in the first place.
Right.
I mean, it's a G1, which Danielson's wanted to work the G1 his whole life, and it's
Sure.
basically just the G1 but smaller. So we'll see what happens.
Right. Looking forward to it.
I don't know, man. I'm interested to see what happens with this whole thing.
Yeah.
But and you can
Interested to see what they do tonight on Raw.
I'm interested to see what they do on Raw. I'm interested to see what they do on SmackDown because I guess Punk is probably going to be on both shows.
Yeah.
Because he is a free agent, so
Yep.
he's not on either brand, which
Makes
is
sense.
kind of the Brock Lesnar situation there.
Correct.
Now, does it not feel like WWE is the hotter property here?
Yes, it sure does. Definitely.
Even without the Punk thing.
And yeah, even without Punk, I think they're on a roll more than AEW. AEW's kind of lost their footing. They're struggling.
They're firmly number two. Now, we're not going to stop talking about AEW because they are still relevant.
Absolutely.
AEW is 100% still relevant. And they've still got a lot of high name talent Danielson, Moxley, MJF, Sting until March.
Right.
Darby is there.
Adam Copeland.
Adam Copeland.
Christian Cage. Kill switch.
What did you think of that?
I thought that's dumb. But I guess it ain't any dumber than Luchasaurus, if you think about it.
BWE is reporting, this coming courtesy of Devlin sending me the tweet. BWE is reporting a big open and a big close to the show tonight for Raw.
All right.
We'll see what happens.
That's right. I know I'll see the opening. It's entirely possible I might be asleep before the end. In which case, I'll watch it on Hulu tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to be trying to watch Raw and the Vikings game at the same time tonight, so wish me luck with that.
Right. That's right. Vikings and Bears. Hey, I come from a family of Vikings fans. Been surprising. They've been doing better than we thought they would the last few weeks.
Without their quarterback, yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Kind of seems like they might have found a new quarterback too, by accident.
Yep.
But we're gonna get
You're
out
gonna
of here.
have to have two screens going at the same time, then, aren't you?
Well, I've got a little behind inside baseball here. I've got a 32-inch monitor right here that you're sitting on.
Right.
I've got another 32-inch monitor over here
There you go.
that you can't even see, but this is where like all my notes and shit are. And then I've got my TV right there.
Oh, so, yeah. You can watch it all.
I've got 3 screens.
Yep.
Now, granted, to hear anything coming from my computer, I have to have these on.
Right.
But, plus I've got my phone. I've got an iPad back there. I've got plenty of ways to watch 2 things at once.
Well, so do I, man. I can just tape it on the old VCR and watch the tape later. No,
okay, hang on.
I'm messing with you.
Hang on.
I'm out.
We're not ending the show.
I do have a VCR. It won't record, but it'll still play my old tapes,
So you still own a VCR?
Oh yeah, and I still got some of those old Coliseum videotapes with Sean Mooney hosted them and that kind of stuff. I've got the Hacksaw Jim VHS tape, which was the first one directed by Tony Schiavone when he was directing videos for Coliseum Video.
I have a question.
Yes.
Were you tape trading back in the day when that was still a thing?
No, I wasn't trading. No, because I didn't have. Well, yes, within a very, very small circle of friends within the same town. Yes, but as far as like international or through the mail, no.
I'm sure you knew people who were.
Yeah.
And that's how you would see some of the stuff that.
That's how I first learned about some of these wrestlers before they came to America, like Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit.
See, it's so interesting now because you don't have to tape trade anymore. Just know where something is streamed.
No internet back in the day. You got by with whatever you could,
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for us, folks.
Yes.
Be back here next week.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, man.
I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about next time.
Well, we're probably going to have 2 CM Punk appearances. Who knows? CM Punk might even turn up on NXT.
I would put him on there if I was booking it.
Why not?
Yeah. You might.
They're going to be in Nashville tonight, and Tampa's a hop, skip, and a jump.
Sure.
It's not a long flight.
No, it's not.
So if he's back and he's back for real,
sounds good.
Why not?
Absolutely.
Well, Russ, thank you so much for showing up for work today.
Yes. Glad to do it.
We will be right back here next week.
All right.
Play our music. Russ, let's get out of here. Let's go home.
All right. Bye-bye.